Hey people, it's Steel Gamer, and welcome to a Diablo 3 video with a pre-Season 17 discussion. In this video, I'll be discussing things ranging from the misinformation on the leaderboard and the PTR, the public test realm for the testing for Season 17, all the way up to the Legacy of Nightmares buff and things like that are going to be being used that people are going all gung-ho about. So before getting into this video, I'm just going to let a few people get in here if they want, and then I'll be going into exact detail as what exactly I'll be talking about with certain things, because there's a lot of misinformation in this game that's being driven out due to the fact on the leaderboard, and people just have this total misconception that they have no clue to what the hell is going on. So I'm going to be addressing a few things that I think if Blizzard changed, it would change a few things as well as far as leveling goes in Season 17. But other than that, um, I'm just going to give some speculations on what I think, what I hope would happen or what should or shouldn't happen or things like that, because it would just basically be ridiculous. And I'll get to what I'm talking about afterwards. So I'm going to give people a few minutes to get in here, and then I will start the video. So give it about 1 minute, and I'll start, because I don't want to go too long in this. And right now, as you're seeing before getting into the video, before actually starting, I'm going to go over the Legacy of Nightmares build that I actually have right now, because that's what basically people are testing. And I'm going to be separating some truth and fiction behind what is going on with this. And I'll actually go into a greater rift and show you what's going on with this. Alright, so about 20 more seconds and then I'll start. So until then, I hope your day is going good. Alright, let's check this out. One last thing here. Okay, so let's try it. Okay, so let me begin by first explaining when I was in the public test realm for Season 17, it was absolutely ridiculous, the behavior of people in there. First of all, it was a 300% XP gain, and people were still asking to be boosted. I'm sorry, but a 300% XP gain is still not enough for you, then you should not be playing this game. But to actually ask to be boosted, and then on top of that, people were using the excuse, well, I just want to use my stuff and get right to it, instead of actually realizing that it copies your entire account. It copies it. So basically, it takes it from point A and places it in point B, and the public test realm is point B. So there is nothing that you don't have in the public test realm as long as it's not seasoned. Why not just start? You get the entire Paragon level and everything else, and you still get the benefits of that same exact thing, except season just starts you over, which is basically pointless. And so people were literally asking for a boost, which is absurd. Which leads into the first problem of, hey viewer, how's it going? Which leads into the first problem of a myth that's going around in this game, and I wanted to address this, that power leveling is part of this game. That's completely false. It never has been. Now, I'm going to get a ration of shit for this, because the reason I'm going to get a ration of shit for this is simply because this has become commonplace so often that people have now literally believed it's actually part of the game structure. That is entirely untrue. Power leveling is not part of the game structure and never has been. So, but when you bring this up to people, they reply with, "Oh, hey, well, obviously it's allowed because Blizzard, if Blizzard wanted it stopped, they'd remove it." That's ridiculous to even come up with that concept, even though I know why people will say that. So the first issue here is this game is co-op. It's not multiplayer. It's not, an MMORPG in that aspect. It is an MMO in the fact that there is a massive amount of people online, but it's not an actual MMO as far as like WoW and things like that. So when you're dealing with something like co-op, the structure of the way co-op is designed is specifically to be played together. There's a loophole in co-op that allows somebody to level somebody without having to play, which totally contradicts why co-op is the way it is. Now that brings into a conversation I had with somebody in the game, or a couple people, that said power leveling's fine, basically saying it's allowed, but it's not because it's not part of the structure, and then explaining to them there's a difference between Blizzard allowing something and then allowing something because they have no choice, because if they removed it, they would have to remove co-op from the game altogether. And that goes against the structure of the game. So technically they have no choice but to allow it, which people use and then give off the impression that, oh, it's part of the game. Blizzard allows it because if Blizzard didn't want it, they'd stop it. Well, I brought up the fact that you can get a level 1 into T13 or T10 or anything higher. And they go, well, no, you can't. I said, yeah, actually, you can. Now, the parallel I'm drawing here is that there are, just because I can get something into T13 does not mean that it's allowed. But then again, I'm going to use the same arguments that the other people used, is that, well, if Blizzard wanted it stopped, they'd stop it. And they can't stop it, so they have to allow it under that condition. But people were using, well, there's a lock on it, to try to, justify saying, well, it's not allowed, because if it was, there wouldn't be a lock on it. Well, co-op is not actually allowed to be using it to bypass allowing to have people play the game, but people do. So there's really no difference between taking a level 1 in T13, bypassing the lock, and then using co-op to bypass having to play the game. Same exact argument. So I don't even get into debates with people about that. That's the way it operates. All right, so anyway, on to the next thing. So when you're dealing with that, there's a 300% XP boost inside, the public test realm for just in general. It was ridiculous. So on top of that, all blood shards were doubled. And then you could start off with, they adjusted one of the sets, so you could basically double all death breath drops. So a 4 drop, instead of 4 dropping, it would be 8. So forth down the line. Now the main thing here is the Legacy of Nightmares buff. The Legacy of Nightmares buff uses this set here. It uses something called Litany of the Undaunted, and then the Wailing Host. If you look at the set bonus, it says, while this is your only set bonus, every ancient item you have, and that would include these, every ancient item you have equipped increases your damage by 750%, and it's damage output, and then it reduces all damage you're taking by 4%. Now, that's an actual buff that they put in the game, so the rings actually aren't even needed, which brings me to the first thing I'm going to explain about this, is that when season starts, since you don't need to wear these rings because this set bonus will be active, that means you can actually enhance these builds by wearing 2 additional or different types of ancient rings that would further enhance the build that you normally wouldn't be able to use because you have the set on. So that's going to propose a completely different issue when people are using a buff instead of the set, which will, as you can see, is self-explanatory. Now, that coincides where I have taught people how to use my Mage Lancer build. I've explained them how to use it and everything else, because the same situation applies to my Mage Lancer build. I'm getting away with wearing an additional ring because I don't need to wear the Royal Ring of Grandeur, even though I built the design around that, because the buff itself, it has the Royal Ring of Grandeur, element to it, so you don't have to actually wear it. But normally, the build that I'm doing requires the ring to be worn either between you or the cube, and so that doesn't leave room for a different type of ring. So my set, basically the build is operating much more efficiently at this point because I don't have to I can use a different ring in the slot, and that's why I was getting at the same thing with the Legacy and Nightmares build. Which brings me into the next thing about the people. I've watched people in chat and I've read things online in forums and stuff that people said, well, this Legacy and Nightmare buff is going to change the way people level from 1 to 70 in season. Well, that's the first problem. Unless Blizzard, first of all, the buff requires ancient pieces. And as far as everybody knows, ancient pieces only start dropping after level 70. I've never seen an ancient piece before level 70. Now, that doesn't mean they don't exist. I've just never seen them. Now, why that's important is because unless you have ancient pieces, the buff is totally irrelevant. It won't do a damn thing for you leveling. Now, on the other hand, a speculation I'm assuming is that Blizzard will actually increase the drop rate or appearance rate of ancient items to actually allow that type of effectiveness, which in turn will change how people level. Because even one item on your character with that is good. But then again, how many legendary items do you really get? But then again, now you get into the whole, well, I do the challenge rift. So when you get the challenge rift cache, how many materials are you actually getting? Because in the public test realm, the challenge rift actually gave you 32 death breaths and not just 10. So that's going to propose some interesting things because it basically gave you an assload more of blood shards. It gave you more death breaths that you can do what you want with. And the gold amount in the chest, I can't remember whether it was the same or not. So again, unless the ancient items start dropping before 70, it's not going to really do it. The buff is pointless. So that's another issue here. Now that proposes the set, the what do you call it? This set here that I'm about to show you. I just have to find out where is it? Oh, here it is. Okay, so that proposes this set, the Sage's Passage set. And so, as you look at the very bottom, the last stat on it says increases death breath drops by 1. In the public test route, that set increases. It doubles all death breath drops. It doubles the drops of all of them. So, uh, just like the leveling trick, where you can take a two-handed axe or a two-handed weapon at level 70, and then drop the level requirement, you can actually do with this set once you do that. So when you hit level 61, or you start getting death breaths. It doesn't apply to the cache itself. Those are set in stone. So you wouldn't be able to wear this, open the cache, and let's say it did give you 32 death breaths, you wouldn't get 64. That would be nice, but that would be ridiculous. So I think it only applies to stuff that actually drops in the game off monsters or enemies. And so if that's the case, then people are gonna start speeding through this at level 61, or like I said, if they already didn't have it, you'd be able to put 3 items in the cube. It's going to be ridiculous. It really is. So that brings me to the next point. I'm going to talk a little bit about the leaderboard here. And by the way, this video is not going to go as long as I normally do because there's really only so much to go over. So I'm going to bring up the leaderboard here because this is a huge issue that people have in the game where they're so blinded by whoever's on the leaderboard at the top and the build that they have that they're not paying any attention to how the actual person or the player got that placement on the leaderboard. It's not the set and it's not the build that they're using because this is a misconception. People think, oh, that build's really the top build. No, the build really doesn't have anything to do with it. In fact, I used and built the Legacy of Nightmares mage build and it was fucking horrible. It took me 21 and a half minutes to clear a GR85 with it, and I was basically about Paragon level 840, which is partly what I'm leading up to with this. This is the skeleton build, and I can barely do a GR80 with it. And so, people are like, oh, did you build it right? And all this stupid shit excuses. This is built pretty much almost verbatim. There's a few things changed here and there, but they're not affecting anything. In fact, I actually increased the damage by having a Crispin sentence in here. I've done it with Land of the Dead as well. I've done variants of this. I've done different items about, in the cube. So when you take the hexing pants of Mr. Yan, I don't know why the hell I'm pointing up here, but when you take the hexing pants of Mr. Yan, if you look at this, I actually used Heart of Iron. I've tried that. I've tried Convention of Elements in here. I've tried Bukatho's Wedding Band in here. I've tried a few additional Wisdom of Kalan in here. Things like that. So, I've done different variants of this, and I know how the build operates. And so far, this setup right here that I have, including the passives I've changed, is the only way I've actually been able to successfully use this build at a somewhat decent rate. I got the illusionary boots, which allow me to move unhindered, so you don't have to use teleport. I've used molting. I've used things like that. Where I've also used, I gotta find them here. I've also used Ancient Steward's Greaves. Sorry, that's not here. Ancient Steward's Greaves here. And so, like I said, I've done various builds on this, various things, using various other elements. And there's a pair of pants that actually just give off poison. There are two of them. It's not Death's Bargain. It's another one, and I can't for the life of me remember it. I got to see if I can find it. It's a pair of pants. Let me see if I can find it. It Boots of Disregard. It's not Death's Bargain. It's not Depth Diggers. It's something that literally gives off poison. Give me 1 second. I gotta locate this. All right. I don't know why I just blocked my camera for a minute. All right. So let's see if I can find this. Is it Pox Fault? Yeah, I've used this, Pox Falls too. The other thing I've tried with the bracers instead of Nemesis bracers is that I've used Sanguine. I can't even pronounce this. Basically, what it does is since this is a Thorns build, I've used this plus this. So, because your vitality is so high, you gain Thorns equal to 300% of your vitality. So, when you have a high vitality, that's going to give off more damage. So, like I said, I mean, I've done so many various things on this. It's ridiculous. I don't need golem skin breaches here. It is where is it? Hexam Cans. Okay, so like I said, I've done various things, and I found that I could barely do any damage with this stuff. Well, it's not barely do any damage, but it was just it started. The riff would start off good, and then it would just get trashed because I would fall further and further behind. So my point is that this build is not as good as it appears to be. Now, people will try to say, well, look at the leaderboard, look at the leaderboard, look at the leaderboard, as if that actually means anything. So let me explain what's going on here because there are people who are so blinded by the build that they fail to actually realize and accept why these people are placed on the leaderboard so high. So I'm going to go over this. Okay, so let me start by going down to a really lower level GR. Let's say type 100. All right, now this is just a random person I picked off of the leaderboard. Now, I already know 100% for a fact factors in here without even looking at this, and you can apply this throughout the leaderboard. So before looking at this, I'm going to say that they have gem ranks that are over 120, or they're over like 110. Their gear is also augmented with that, and they probably have about 25 to 3,500 Paragon points. So let me look here. They got to have a primal on here too somewhere, I think. Okay, so I'm going to point out that this is a Corpse Lance build. And I'm glad I happened to find this because this doesn't require a high Paragon level to actually get a GR, with level where they are. It requires the build. So as I said, Lucan Primal, it's on the leaderboard. So the fact is that this is not a mage build and it's not a skeleton build. So let me find a skeleton build and show you the difference here. Now notice that their gem ranks were still almost 100. Okay, so let me try this guy here. See what's going on. Okay, so here's a mage build. Okay, so we're going to take a look, and I guarantee you, first of all, if you see, he's got a Paragon level of over 2,000. His gem ranks, 130. His augmented gear is 108, 106, 100. His gem rank is 130. His gem rank is 127. He is a primal item. He probably has several primal items. He has probably more than two. Okay, his gear is all augmented at pretty much 100 plus. Now, what I'm going to point out here is that the reason that they're on the leaderboard has nothing to do with the mage build. Like I said, I've used this mage build at my Paragon level, and it took me 21 and a half minutes to clear GR 85 with it because the build doesn't work as good as it appears to be. And so, let me explain what's going on. because I can open up and find a skeleton build, and the same exact thing actually happens. You'll have the skeletons instead of the mages, and the skills are a little different, but all of their gear and their gems are like ranked 130. It's ridiculous. And so let me see if I can find one here that looks like here in details. That's Corpse Lance. Yeah, his gem is like 116. So yeah, 120 augmented gear, 110, 80. Okay, so yeah, there's an issue here, and you'll start to see a pattern, which I'll get to in a minute. Let me see if this is you hear details. He's actually he's using parts of Rathmas. 54, 55, yeah, 78. Okay, so I'm trying to find the actual thing here. Yeah, so he's not using Legacy of Nightmares. Now, let me find the Legacy of Nightmares one. All right, this is a mage build, I believe. Yep. Yeah, he's using Rathmas. So, this is strictly what I'm talking about is the Legacy of Nightmares. Let me go up a few levels here. And, okay, so now we have a Legacy of Nightmares skeleton build. All right, so, ready? All right. Paragon level is 2600. Gem rank 120. Gem rank 125. Primal gem rank 125. See if I can find an augmented piece of gear. You must not have did it, but his gem ranks plus the primals he has. And so I'm going to explain what's going on here. Okay. There is a two-character exploit. There's a way to exploit the game, and I'm not going to explain the process for doing this, and I'm not going to explain exactly what's involved and how to do it. I am going to explain the premise of what's going on, and then I'm going to link everything together so people can understand what exactly is going on. Okay, so as it stands, there is a way to exploit the game using two characters. And again, I'm not going to tell you what those characters are. I'm not going to explain anything on how to do this. I'm just explaining the premise of this. Okay, so there's a way to use two characters to exploit being able to do a GR 125 to 135 2 weeks after season starts. What happens is people will go in and do the GRs, get their gems ranked to obnoxious levels, as you saw, augment their gear with it, and then go ahead and then re-rank their gems again, or rank the new gems again up to that level. Now you have somebody running around with level 125 or, level 110 augmented gear with a gem rank of 120 or 125 or even 130. So, they then go off solo. And that allows them to just get retarded amounts of Paragon levels. So now you have the Paragon level, the gem ranks, and the augmented gear. And what winds up happening in this case is that once you are at that level, it doesn't matter what the hell you wear. You can just plow through everything. And so, furthermore, once that goes through, what you have here is there's another exploit, or I should say it's basically a cheat, that is a script that allows the reallocation of Paragon points. From a touch of a button, it allows you to transfer any points from one section of one of these tabs into another. So they would remove all the intelligence, put it into vitality at the touch of a button, and then when they're going into battle, they would remove it from vitality and put it into intelligence. So it is absolutely ridiculous that is even allowed to go on, which also allows how people are doing the GR 125s to 135s 2 weeks after season starts with those two characters. On top of that, the script exploit allows the manipulation and abuse of two gems. Esoteric, I can't pronounce it, Esoteric Alteration and Mutilation Guard. Okay? Mutilation Guard, these two gems, if you look at the secondary ability on them, well below 50% life. Well below 50% life. What happens is the exploit the script that allows you to manipulate where this goes by removing all the points and then putting the points in here. It lowers your health below 50%, thus triggering off whatever gem these have. And it's most likely this one that they're going to use because it's a resistance issue. And so what winds up happening is by manipulating it and rapidly pressing the keybind that allocates the Paragon points, you trick the game into thinking you're permanently below 50% life while having the life itself, so you don't actually go below it. You just trick the game into thinking that the gem is triggering it off because the gem thinks the gem is looking at your 50%, you're below 50% life. So you're getting you're basically getting a permanent 75% reduced, you're getting a 75% increase on resistances, all of them. It's not. Let me see, cold, fire, lightning, poison, and arcane. 75% resistance. That's ridiculous. So what these people are able to do is manipulate how they're playing it. They're using a two-character exploit that allows them to do those high GRs, which allows them to get the gem ranks, which allow them to manipulate the script allows them to manipulate that so they can stay alive to do higher gem ranks and higher GRs, and the XP amount from that is exponential. And so what they wind up doing is they wind up botting using that stuff, and then before you know it, near the end of the season, they have almost 4,000 Paragon. Now, I'm going to take a look at the top leaders because the top board, because when usually people look at the leaderboard, they see, oh, look at this. So we're going to take a look at this build, okay? And we're going to pay attention to the stuff that actually matters, not just looking at the build. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you that he's using the skeleton build, okay? The problem with this build is, no, get out. You're not going to get him. You weren't good in school. So what you have here is 110 rank, a chip of 100, a level 147 gem, a level 140 gem, a level 138. And his gear's all augmented, plus he is primal. And if you look at the freaking augment on this stuff, it's ridiculous. So all of that, you take a look at the 3,400, it's almost got 3,500 Paragon level. Of course he's going to be able to do this, but he's going to do 130, or he or she. The problem is people are like, oh, look at the top build, this is doing well. This is only doing well because of the exploit they used. It has nothing to do with the build. And so I will be going in and showing you that even at my Paragon level, I don't have anything augmented. I barely have my gems ranked up, and I actually got these gems ranked off of a different character because I can't get up high enough. I can't get up high enough right now with this particular build in order to do that. So I could, in theory, take these out and augment the build that I used with it to get them higher, which would allow me to, do higher ranked gems, but that's not the point. So if I do a GR80, I will be barely able to do this. So let me go in here. I'll go in and show you just exactly what's going on here. So, and this is where people come in and they say, well, you're just not playing right or anything else. So what this build does is it allows you to stay alive long enough by using health gains and things like that. And you use your skeletons. So this build always starts off good, and then it just gets really ass. So you have to constantly keep devouring. Once you get the elite, you just move on. Now I want people to pay attention to something here. Watch how long it's taking me to go from point A to point B. So all the time I basically just gained was some of it was lost. So I can't really stay ahead. Now, one thing you'll notice about this game is that it has a tendency to. It has a tendency. I got killed by this guy, and so so the game will constantly spawn this crap at you that gets you at a distance. So I have to spend time getting rid of all these excess enemies that follow me and that can shoot me. Now, I've noticed something with this build. Every single time, right? I go to friggin' play this build, I get illusionist with poison on the ground. Every single time. And there's multiple versions of it because this build can't handle that type of this build can't handle that type of whatever you call it, that type of I don't know if I got that. Oh, it's over here. There we go. So this build can't handle that type of aggression. So what the game will do is the game will spawn stuff you have a problem with. So let me see here. I'm going to get the speed here. I'm going to hit this here. So I just wanted to show this build in action. And what's funny is, like, people look at me and it's like, you just don't know how to play. I know exactly how to play. It's just there's only so much you can do if the game starts aggressively shooting shit at you that you can't deal with. And so, another that brings up another point on, people being able to play at higher grade of risk because they actually riff fish. It's called riff fishing. Now, when I first originally used this build, I didn't have my gems up as high as I did. Now, if I ranked my gems, like if I augmented my gear and ranked my gems higher than normal, I would have a really, really sick build. Like, this would be able to rip this apart. Like, I wouldn't even be taking this damn long. See, I have the ghosts that are following me. I can't get rid of them. Mother fudge, I hate this. This is so annoying. I just keep moving the damn I keep moving the damn window. I'm going to be dead in a minute. I got to get rid of these ghosts. And here comes that guy in the middle of it. Some people are like, well, just leave them. There are some things, if there are some enemies you just can't leave. You have to kill them. The only reason I'm doing this much damage is because of the Crispin sentence I have in the cube. to get killed because of this thing. See, as you can see, this build's not that. It's not as good as. It's not as cracked up as what people, think it is. Now, I'm not getting killed because I'm messing around. I'm getting killed because there's too much crap coming at me that's inadvertently messing with the build's ability to do anything. Like these guys off to the side. And it's like really hard to kill these guys. See? And then there's poison on the ground. So you can't sit still long enough. I got to get rid of these savage beasts. And the other thing, too, is the elite affixes keep going off every friggin' 2 seconds. Like, that's ridiculous. That's like the third friggin' time that poison has gone off from that guy in under 10 seconds. That's ridiculous. Again. Hey, how's it going, man? Welcome to the stream. I'm just giving a demo on. Oh my god, seriously. Oh my, hold on, I keep friggin' screwing with the screen. I'm giving a demo on the this build here because it's not all cracked up to people. It's not all like it's not as good as people are making it out to be for specific reasons. Oh my god, stop moving this damn window. So friggin' annoying. Keep moving this window, it's annoying. Alright, so. Oh my god, seriously, I did it again. It's so friggin' annoying. Watch out, like seriously, look at how long it's taken to kill this thing. If the build was actually like as good as people say it is, that thing should have just been dead in a matter of 2 minutes. Not like it should have been dead in like 10 seconds. But seriously, look how long this has taken to kill. It's so ridiculous. Like this build, this is not as good as people think it is. Like you're just not doing it right. There's nothing to do right. You just sit and shoot. You know. So yeah, I mean, you can't even really kill a Rift Guardian with this thing that effective. It's ridiculous. So I just wanted to give you guys a full blown test on that to show you that this again, this is what if I had augmented all my gear and everything else, that wouldn't have been an issue. But the fact is, I can't get my gems up that high because I don't exploit the game using two character exploits. I just don't, you know. And so, as you can see, I was barely able to do an 80 exactly as I said. And it's not that I was playing it any differently. I just kept going from elite to elite. The problem was they just don't die. There's too much crap involved, and I kept dying consistently because of all the stuff being thrown at you that you can't really survive on. It's literally like next to impossible to do. So I'm going to try to get these ranked up. So only one out of three in that. And so I mean I didn't empower the rift, but I just wanted to give you an example on that. Now, if I swap out some gear with this, it'll be a totally different story. So, like I said, the only reason I was able to actually do that much damage is because of the Chrisman sentence. Now, if I swap out leech because I need this, so let's see here, scent of blood, frailty. So you can change these around. So let's say I could do early grave. So that would be a different story. And one of the things you want to use is eternal torment, so it just constantly sits there. And just your curses don't have that much. Now, I could change this into um, Grizzly Tribute, which they'll heal. I get healed by my minions for every hit that they do. Um, I could be using. Let me see, what is it? Eternal Torment. Where is it? Draw life. Uh, but you, if you're gonna do draw life, then you might as well just replace in the cube Chrisman's sentence with Bulkathu's wedding band. So you'd be draining health regardless. But I don't like situational. Um, I don't like situational uh, passives or things like that where it requires X amount of things to be close or far or whatever. I just don't like that. That's a situational thing. So when you're obviously you're going to be surrounded, but the fact is, I'd rather have Grizzly Tribute because my minions are going to actually be hitting the enemy anyway. So, and like I said, also what's interesting is when you're surrounded too. Yes, this is a 25% increase on the regeneration for stuff and your resources and essence and stuff. But again, the whole build is built around thorns. So if you're gonna, I don't understand why people wouldn't just use like heart of iron, or in that case, I would swap out, singularity vampire vambraces. I think that's what it's called. Here it is. Chance of being hit. It deals 1,000% of your thorns damage to nearby enemies. So, I mean, if you look at the thorns amount that I have, it's ridiculous. It's like 132,975. And so, you're dealing with how much extra damage if you get hit. So this is situational. Um, do you kill the mobs faster, or do you trigger elites to get the rifts done faster? So it's one of those toss-ups. Uh, Also, I don't like, I mean, I understand why people are using convention of elements, but I tried it. And again, this is situational because it has to work within the rotation. This will just permanently work regardless. Also, because it's surrounded, I'm not sure if I would rather use Zystone of Vengeance or if I would just use instead, because again, that's situational. Because what most people don't understand about Zystone of Vengeance is damage you deal is increased by X% for every 10 yards. If the enemy is under that 10-yard time frame where you're totally surrounded, that damage is no good. You literally have to be away from somebody to use that. So what I would personally choose to do is use a Bane of the Trapped because it's an automatic. So when you're around, they're slowed. That that Chrisman sentence is going to do that extra damage to them. And when you're stunning with the golem, because that's what the golem does. That's why the bone golem is there. You're going to stun the enemies, which also triggers Crispin sentence. And so when you have Crispin sentence, it does both. So first of all, the enemies are slowed by the Bane of the Trap, and secondly, they're going to be affected by the stun, which is now going to give them triple, because it says or. But it's 100% damage or it's triple the damage no matter which way you look at it. And so that's where Zystone of Vengeance comes in. It's kind of a toss-up. What do you really do, You can't get rid of the chip. You can't get rid of the Enforcer because you need those. So do you swap out that for, Enforcer? Another thing you can do to improve your survivability is to use Molten instead of Zeiss, but now you're losing damage, but your survivability goes up, so you can stand in the crowds longer. So it's a question of what do you actually want to do. In this case, no, you're not getting those. Get out. You were bad. You're not going. You were bad in school. You're not getting those. You know better. So I was also thinking about using Gem of Association's Toxin because that's an automatic poison damage, even though you're not doing poison. It's the secondary ability that's on that gem because that thing, I'm always a fan of that. That thing works really good anyway in general. And so I don't know what I prefer. So as you just saw the demo with the Zystone of Vengeance, now I'm going to swap it out with Bane of the Trapped, and I'll show you the difference. Yeah, I don't know if you can really tell if there's a difference, but let's ID this because I don't know if that's primal. Care about that. What the hell is this thing? Is that a freaking... What the hell is this thing? I've never even seen that. Oh, that's why it's a barbarian weapon. I don't play barbarian, so I don't even care. That's a Haunted Visions. Stoner Joy. I play this damn game too much. That is a Focus or Restraint. I can't remember the picture. That's a Crispin sentence. Let's see what that one brings. I might be able to swap. Oh, actually, no, I can't swap them out. I need the damn thing. Oh, wow, that's good. Actually, I'm going to use that on my other build. Oh, that's really good. I'm going to use that on my friggin' neck. I'm going to use that on my other build. Get rid of the resources, put a socket in. That's really nice. Wow, that's really good. Holy shit. Okay, so now I don't need that. I don't need that. What the hell is that? What the hell is that? Is that a sunstone? Oh, wait a minute. You know what? I'm going to ID these. How's it going, viewer? You may not have been here earlier, or you might have, in case you weren't watching. I'm going over the Legacy of Nightmares. This is a pre-season 17 thing because the Legacy of Nightmares set is good, but it's not as good as people think it is, and I was explaining why. If you go back and watch the beginning of the video, I explain all of why, you know, what's going on and how, because people are using leaderboard placement as to see the build, but if you actually see the build being used by somebody who doesn't has never used those exploits or cheated to get on the leaderboard and or is using bots under those conditions, jack their gem ranks up and things like that, you get to see how the build actually functions, which is what I like to do. I don't like people, I like to show people, hey, this is what you're doing. This is what the reality is. Things like that. So I'm going to take the stone out. I'm going to put this one in. And here's something interesting. I'm actually going to replace Leech with Land of the Dead, Frozen Lands, because again, that's a triple thing. So let's see here. Those are all set. Don't need that. Let's try 80 again. I'm going to augment. I'm going to, jack it up this time. I got like so much gold, it's ridiculous. Okay, so let's see what the difference here is. Okay, same tactics. Just gonna see the difference. Yeah, that was fucking horrible. Yeah, this is fucking horrible. See, the problem with again, it's not just the build. The rift. This build can't handle that type of attack, so the rift will constantly keep giving you that stuff. Same thing with like when you're using one thing I've never agreed with is when you're using the Land of the Dead build for Corpse Lance, where you curse the ground, shit like that. One thing I've never agreed with. Wait, do I have the friggin'? I'm gonna make sure. Okay. One thing I had to make sure my friggin' mic was on. I'm talking to myself. Okay. One thing I've never agreed with on how Frozen Lands operates is that Frozen Lands should stop every single. You should be able to get the full 10 seconds out of that without having to move. In other words, when you activate it, all incoming projectiles coming at you should cease. Elites should not be able to use their powers. Any powers that are in the current, effect of being used need to stop. No enemies can explode into poison when they're dead. All of that shit for Frozen Lands should be being applied. Because what happens is you only have a 10-second damage window. But too often when you get these builds, the Rift is programmed to counter what you have as the build. So what winds up happening is when you're doing Frozen Lands, you must stand still to get all that damage because if you move, you lose damage seconds in that. You can't stand away from them because anything outside the range of that Frozen Lands can hit you. So what will happen is they'll stuff Lucani Huntresses, Winged Assassins, you know, they'll stuff Frozen on the ground, so you literally have to move because if you don't, you'll be dead. And so if you move, you lose damage. If you don't, you'll be dead. Either way, you lose damage. So it's kind of like a toss up on how these builds operate. So, case in point, last time I was playing, you'll notice that every time I don't have Frozen Lands on, it doesn't really give me Bogan Trappers. It gives me, you know, Lucani Huntresses, things like that. But when I have Frozen Lands, it starts giving me shit that stay outside the land, outside the range of it, and then does it. It doesn't always do that, but it does it 99% of the time. And so you gotta remember that. Again, what I'm showing. So you got to remember what I'm showing is the actual build in use and how it actually functions without all the excess, um, cheats, exploits, and stuff that people are using their gems to get get their gems up and stuff like that. See, they give you stuff you just can't handle. So let me get out of this. So let's see. What I'm doing is rift fishing too. Rift fishing, in case you don't know, is the art of having an assload of keystones, and what you do is you keep going through a rift until you find the one you like, and that way it makes it easier for you guys to do, or I should say, it makes it easier for the rift to be done. So now I'm going to take off. I'm going to take off Commander of the Risen Dead, and I'm going to put in Grizzly Tribute. Just have health. Yeah, I'm going to leave that as is. Let's go in and start this. Here we go. This is where Zystone Avenger, see, they friggin' set it up so you have to move. You can't stay within range of that. Oh my god. So let's see here. Again with the Frozen. And Arcane. So this is a bit ridiculous. I saw him going up there. See, every 3 seconds these things go off, and they need to tone this shit down. He's going to trigger his Frozen off in a second. Oops, I put that the wrong damn way. If I don't get rid of these guys, they'll follow me up the damn map, casting Arcane constantly. Keep moving my window. So annoying. I've even tried thinking about using Briggs Wrath in this. Briggs Wrath is basically a uh, a ring that basically will curse enemies. And when they're cursed, sorry, Brig's Wrath is a ring that when enemies are cursed, it pulls them all into one location together. This works. Yep, there it is. This guy right here is what killed me because I have to keep moving because of him. Yep, so they just have to hit you and knock you up just enough so you can't activate any of your abilities. Happens every time. These friggin' phantoms. They're always on every level of this, no matter what level it is. And there's that enemy needs to be nerfed. It because it flies through walls and you can't get around it. Really? All right, so I'm not even gonna finish. I'm not even gonna do this level because there's fast moving poison in there. You'll never, never, never get around it. It's over. You can't finish it. So they screwed you on a level you can't get around. First of all, it's in a corridored area. Secondly, the entire level is all poison explosion enemies. So you can't stand still. There's poison constantly that'll just rip your health down instantly. And so, if I change what I was doing, um, it won't work because the rift will change in accordance to what I change. So there's almost no way to get around anything that you're doing. I mean, in that regard, it's kind of smart programming, but at the same time, there's no point in Blizzard to have allowing people to have builds if they're just going to do every single thing to screw that build over. So in this particular case, I won't be using Land of the Dead anymore. I'll go back to using Leech, Cursed Ground, and then I will remove that, and I will keep this in place. Now I'll show you the difference here. Put that in. The fact that I got smacked in the first beginning of that level where they just ran up and you can't even do anything. So that alone proves the level it's a waste of time to even continue. Just end it and just go to another one. It's frustrating, but what can you do? I wasn't doing that good anyway. So as you're starting to see the reality on this build, it's not as good as people are trying to make it out to be. My cat, he's all messed up, or she's all messed up. So I'm gonna do this one last one, and then we're gonna get. I'm just gonna end this, and then I'll do it this way. Yep, always arcane. Always. They can't have one enemy in here without arcane, so you can't sit still. In the meantime, there's always these guys around too. All right, now we're gonna eat dinner in a few minutes. We're gonna eat dinner when Mummy gets home. Mummy's gonna be disappointed that you weren't good in school like that. So now we're gonna do this here. Notice how both of these enemies are arcane enchanted. Both of them, not one, both. So there's no way to even do this. I can't even get through this. Frozen. Hey, get in here. You don't have jacket and shoes on. You know better than that. Go get your shoes and jacket on. You can sit in the porch, okay? I can't survive this. There's no way. Because the enemy. Oh, God, this is ridiculous. So I already had fallen fire mages on the last level. And there was a ton of them, right? So now the game just has to put in 15. Like, it's ridiculous the way this game is operating. It's like totally not RNG. There is no RNG involved in this at all. RNG will not pull this crap. Will not allow this crap to be pulled. Tell you right now, the only reason I'm surviving, yeah, see, poison, it's all stuff that this build can't handle. If you notice, I really don't have much time gained because I spent all that time trying to get around everything. get rid of these guys. There's a pylon over here. Interesting. Can't move because this knockback guy keeps knocking me up in the air and I can't touch anything. I'm gonna use this to generate an ass load of friggin' That's a new one. Oops, I did that the wrong way. shoulder piece. Let's see what that brings. Oh, it's ancient too, so I should be able to wear that. Let's try this. Right, so let's try this. That's going to go up. Well, that might not. 80. Alright, so now this is at 75, so I'm wondering if I just augment my damn gear and see what happens. So anyway, I just wanted to get that out of the way and basically end this video and say this is TL Gamer signing off. Have a good day or night wherever you guys are, and enjoy Season 17, and good luck to everybody, even though it's rigged against you. Take care.